Okay, yesterday we have discussed on function modules. Function module is one of the modularization technique, right? It's a global reusable object. So you can call function module in any program or in any other function modules, right? So yesterday we have seen the standard function modules and how to call the standard function modules in your program. So what is the option to call the function module in program? Yeah, you have to go to pattern, and there you can call the function module in your program. Okay, this one pattern, right? What is the shortcut? Control F6. Control F6 is the shortcut for the pattern. Double click on the pattern, so enter the function module name here and click on continue. And then what is very important when calling the function module? Providing parameters with same type, right? Here we are passing language, right? For the language input, this is the input parameter of the function module. We are passing language. So before that, make sure you are passing same type, whatever the data type referring to the language, you are passing the parameter with the same type. Okay, double click. So make sure to have same type, whatever you are using here in your program, so that there won't be any runtime errors. Yesterday we have observed a runtime exception, right? When we have used a different type of parameter, right? So we can avoid those runtime exceptions if you use same type. So here days, day names. Day names is returning week names. So here where it is defined in tables, right? That means it is returning internal table type data. So more than one record it is returning, right? To pass the parameter in the program level, make sure to have a internal table defined in the program with the same type. Go and check in the function module in tables. What is the type? T46. It's a text table, right? And define an internal table with that internal table name here and pass the internal table name here. And whatever the data record selected by the function module, it will be returned to this IT week names internal table, and you can make use of that internal table for any purpose. For example, you can apply for all entries on this internal table, or you can use this internal table for loop, right? Here we are just displaying it, right? Here we are just displaying it as output, but in general, you can use this internal table in your ABAP business logic. For example, you can use this internal table in for all entries, right? You can in a select statement, or you can use this internal table to loop. You can read the internal table, right? You can apply control break statements, right? Whatever the things you can apply on this internal table. Okay. So parameters can be input parameters can be optional or mandatory. So here all the parameters are optional. If you observe this, optional checkbox is selected, right? Here no mandatory parameter. Then why? But there should be an input, right, for function module. But how they are, what they are doing, what they are reading here? They are selecting data from this text table, right? T246. They are returning this data. This is a text table. Somewhere they are reading this table, right? But what is the mandatory input? Language is the mandatory input, right, to read the text table. So in the source code, observe language is the input parameter importing here. Language is import parameter. What they are checking here, if language is empty, equal to space means if it is empty, what they are doing, they are automatically populating system language to the importing parameter. Okay, this is handled in the code, source code, because all the parameters are optional. There is no mandatory parameter. Clear? So now we'll see how to create a new function module, our own custom function module, right? If you have standard function module, you can make use it. There are hundreds of function modules. So what is the transaction code to open the function module or create the function module? Please mute. So let's create a function module. What is the prerequisite to create a function module? Yes, function group is required to create a function module. What is a function group? So function group holds a relevant function module. It is like a container for function modules, relevant function modules. For example, if you take this function group, so all the function modules, function module 1, 2, 3 are going to store in a function group, like include programs, right? If you assign a new function module to the function group, one more include program will be automatically created in function group. Okay. So all these function modules, whatever included in the function group, are going to share the global data or global data declarations, which are in top, include underscore top, right? Whatever the internal tables defined, work areas, everything will be shared here. That memory will be shared by all these common function modules of the function group. Okay, let's go to the function module. Go to SC37. So what is the name? Name should starts with Z. Okay, Z demo underscore fm underscore. For example, I am creating one function module to add two numbers. Okay, add two numbers. This is all naming convention. Okay, so the function module name should starts with Z and the name. Okay, I'm creating a function module which can take two numbers as input and return the output. Okay, create it. Oh, server is taking time. Let's try in other server. 7. Create it. So this is the function module name. When I click on create, this pop-up displayed. So what is the mandatory? What are the mandatory inputs here? Function group and text. Here, if you observe, there is a star, right? Asterisk symbol. So that means function group is mandatory. Even short description is mandatory. Add two, add two numbers. Now, do we have a function group? Have you already created the function group? So let's assume we don't have any function group. This is the first time we are using it. Okay. So please mute. Let's create a function group first. So click on cancel because prerequisite is function group, right? So how to create a function group? Go to in SE37, go to function groups, create group. I'll create a function group first. Z demo underscore FZ. Some function group or Z demo underscore ARTH. Some arithmetic operation. This function group is for some arithmetic operations. Click on save. Package. So let's assign, I'll show you like when we are creating these kind of objects, how we do it. Just assign one package name, actual package name, click on save. Now it will ask for transport request. This is the first object we are creating. Create the transport request. So what is the task? So this task is to create some arithmetic operations related application, right? That's why what I'm using here, or will so for example task some 100. This is assigned for you. And what is the purpose of this task? First release one, first release for this application. So what is the purpose? So arithmetic operations, right? Arithmetic operations application. I'm providing transport description like this. When I'm looking at the transport request, I can easily understand what is the purpose that this transport request is created. Click on continue. So I'm saving my function group in a transport request because I've assigned to a package, right? Now your function group is created. ZDemo ARTH. This is your function group. Is it active? We don't know. Is it active or not? Go and check. Go to function group, display group, remove the function module name. Go to function group, display group, ZDemo ARTH, right? Continue. Go to master program. What is the status of this? Is it active? Inactive, right? So to activate, what we need to do? Go to master program and activate. So what are the objects automatically created? One top include is automatically created and one other include is created, right? So click on activate. Okay. So these are also inactive. First active the include programs. Then so this is active. Now try to active the main program. Now your main master program is also active. Now your function group is active, right? So the other easy approach to activate the function group is after creating, copy the function group, go to SE 80 object navigator. Select the function group option here. Select the function group. Here also, yes. So enter the function group name and right click on the function group name. Here you can see the function group. Right click on the function group name, activate. So it will activate the complete function group, right? So to create function group from SE80, here also you can create it. I'm providing a new name, zdemo underscore fz. Just click on enter. So it does not exist. Do you want to create the object? Click on yes. So provide the short description. Click on save. So this is not relevant for me. That's why I'm not saving it. Like that you can create here. Okay. In SE80. Enter the name here and click on enter. If it is available, it will display here. If that name is not available, so it will display a pop-up to create the new function group. Okay. So right click on the function group to activate the function group. Activate. Okay. So once your function group is active, so enter your function group here. I'll create from the beginning. Now my function group is ready. Create the function module. And what is the function group? ZDemo. Or if you don't remember, just use stars. ARTH. Right? Where is it? Think this is the one. ARTH. Right? FM to add numbers. Click on save. So function group ZDemo ART. Oh, I know what is the mistake I'm doing. So I created this in 2020, not in 2021. Let me open a new session here in SC37 because 2021 is slow. That's why I've created in a 2020 server. So create a function module in 2020 ZDemo ARTH. So it is available here. Okay. FM to add two numbers. Click on save. Function module's name is reserved for SAP. Click on continue. Click on save. Now we created a function module, right? Let's go to the function group and check. Double click on the function group. Go to master program. Now there is a one include program for our function module ZDemo FM underscore add numbers. One include program is created, right? In the second include. Double click. It is created. Right? One include is created for our new function module. Let's go and write some code here. Now what are the inputs for our function module? To add two numbers, we need two numbers, right? Input one, number one and number two, right? Define your import parameters. No, before that, go to attributes. What is the type of the function module you need? Is it a regular function module, remote enabled function module, or update function module? Select it, right? For now, I just need regular function module. I don't need a remote enabled or update function module. A regular function module is suitable for my requirement. Go to source code. Sorry, go to import parameters. Define the inputs. First thing is inputs are not mandatory. Okay, function module may or may not have inputs. Without inputs also, you can write the code like this. Equal to some 10, 20, right? You can also write like this. But is there any use of this function module? Every time it is going to calculate the same values, right? 10 plus 20, and it will populate that output to LV underscore final value to LV underscore output. Are we able to return this value without the exporting parameter? We cannot return this, right? It will work if you activate the function module. You can execute this function module and check. But without using importing and exporting parameters, there is no meaning of reusability, right? So it is not suitable for reusing the function module because it's going to execute the same logic, right? For every program. So the function module should accept the inputs and it should return the outputs so that we can calculate the different values. Okay, depends on the requirement. If you execute the function module, execute. So your function module executed. It did not accept any input and it did not return any output, right? There is no meaning in this, right? So we'll make it. So we'll make the function module to accept the inputs and return the output. How can you do that? Go to import parameter and add your import parameters. For example, I'll follow some naming convention. I means import I underscore val1 type. What is the associated type? If you have any data element, you can provide here. Otherwise, just use what is the associated type. Just find int4, I think, or just try I. Okay, I means integer. Val2 type I. These are the two inputs for my function module, right? So number one and number two, those are integer types. Go to export parameter. What is export parameter? Export parameter is to return the output, right? So define one parameter to return the output to the calling program. So export parameter, I'll use a naming convention E underscore uh, output type. So if you have a data element, you can use the data element or a structure. So for now, I will use integer type I. Now go to the source code. So I've defined two inputs and in export, I've defined one output. Go to the source code and write your logic. How to write your logic? E underscore output equal to, what is the purpose of this function module? Add two numbers, right? I underscore val1 plus I underscore val2. That's it. It is to which variable I am returning the output? to this exporting parameter, right? To this exporting parameter, I am returning the output, correct? Whatever the calculated value, right? Activate the function module, test the function module, execute here, test it. So I have two inputs. I have to enter two inputs, 10, 20, and execute. So what is the output? So output is returned to export parameter, right? Clear? So every time you can pass new values, whatever the values required to calculate. So it will provide that updated input, right? For example, if you are not passing that final output to exporting parameter, what will happen? The calculation will be performed, but the output is not going to be available. For example, if you don't pass this, for example, we'll pass that to some variable lv underscore output, right? Is it going to return any output for the calling program? Now, is it going to return any output for the calling program? Just execute, provide 10, 30, click on execute. What is the output of e underscore exporting parameter? 0, right? Because here we are not passing the value to exporting parameter. Okay. So calculating the code or writing the source code is not only an important thing. After writing your source code, what is very important? Returning the output. Whatever the output you got, you have to return it to exporting parameter. Then only the output will be available for the calling program. Okay, wherever we are calling this. Clear? Provide the output, return the output, exporting parameter equal to whatever the value you have calculated. Okay, or you can directly use this exporting parameter here in the calculation. It depends on the requirement. Test the program, test the function module. So we got the output. Is everyone clear on how to create the function module? For now, just concentrate on import export. Going forward, we'll see changing and tables. Is everyone clear how we are writing the source code using import and export? So import we are using as inputs and export we are returning the output. Clear? Is everyone clear? We are not using exceptions, right? Shall we implement the exceptions in the function module? Now, for example, so these two parameters, are these parameters optional or mandatory? Value 1 and value 2. Are these optional inputs or mandatory inputs? These two are mandatory inputs. Mandatory inputs. Okay. Let's say if one of the mandatory input is missing, then raise the exception. We'll raise the exception here. Let's say user did not pass one of the mandatory input. Then what we need to do? We need to raise the exception, right? First define the exception. For example, no input 1. That is my exception name. I've defined two exceptions, no input 1 and no input 2. Then how can we raise this exception? in source code. We'll use like this. If I underscore val1 is initial, then what we need to do? Rise exception 1, rise exception. That's it. Okay. Else if I underscore val2 is initial, rise second exception, right? So what is the statement to rise the exception? What is the syntax to rise the exception? Rise and exception name. Okay, rise and exception name. Okay, check, activate, and test the function module. So I'm not entering anything for first value. Execute. What is the exception it is rising? No input 1. Let's provide value for first parameter and remove it for second one. Execute. So looks like since these are the mandatory values, these are the mandatory parameters, some value is required. I'm entering 0. 0 means initial, right? 0 means initial. So what is the exception it is rising? No input 2, right? The second exception is rising. Initial means, remember, 0. Okay, that's what we are checking here, right? Is initial, because these are the mandatory parameters. That's why it is expecting some value, even including initial value. Okay, that should not be space, that should not be blank. Okay, clear? This is how we can raise the exceptions. Okay, depends on the scenario. We are going to raise different exceptions. Yesterday we have observed the standard exceptions in the standard function module. Now let's call this function module in our program. So let's create one function module, sorry, program, z demo fm call underscore add numbers. Let's create the program. Program to add two numbers. Now I'm creating a program, right? Now I'm creating a program, and for which transport request I have to assign? I'm assigning to a proper package. For which transport request I have to assign? The transport request which I've already created, right? Because all these developments are related to the same applications, right? Arithmetic operation application. So I'm going to assign the same transport request for the program also. So for the function group and function module, I've used the same transport request. For program also, I will use the same transport request. Okay, clear? Because both are dependent, right? Because we are calling the function module in our program, correct? Both are dependent, right? Function module and program. By mistake, you have added this program to a separate transport request, and then you released this program to test system without releasing the transport request, without releasing the transport request, and you released this program to test system. Is it going to work? Is that program is going to work? We are calling the function module, right, in the program. We are referring the function module in the program, but we did not release that to test system. And we applied this program to test system. Is this program going to work in test system? No, it's not going to work. It will give you some runtime exceptions because that function module is not available in test system. Correct? That function module is not available in test system. That's why always make sure to have all the related objects in a same transport request so that there is no dependency, there is no issues when we are applying the changes to test systems. Now, what is the input for this program? Let's assume we need the two numbers, number 1 and number 2, and we are going to calculate and return the output. We'll take two parameters, p underscore 1 type integer, p underscore 2 type integer data. Yeah, let's see that later. Now, what is required? Call the function module. This is not the one. Zdemo fm underscore add two numbers. You can also search here using stars. Click on continue. Your function module is called, right? If you observe here, so we are passing parameter 1 to value 1, parameter 2 to value 2, right? And make sure these parameters and these importing parameters both should be of same data type. Are we using integer, right? We are using integer type only, right? For these parameters. Double click and check. Yeah, we are using integer type only. Both are compatible data types. Here also we are using integer type. And enable this importing. Here we are returning the output, right? Using this importing in calling program. Define one variable to return the output. What is the type of this e underscore output? Go and check. Type I, right? Define one variable with integer type. Now pass that here. Pass that here and enable your exceptions. Enable the exceptions. So if sub RC not equal to 0, what does that mean? Exceptions are raised, right? If first exception is raised, sub RC will be 1. If second exception is raised, sub RC will be 2, right? Handle the exceptions. If sub RC equal to 1, what does that mean? Enter input 1, type E. Else if sy hyphen RC. Please mute. Yeah, yeah. Thanks. Okay, these two are the exceptions we need. Else if sy hyphen sub RC equal to 0, then no exceptions. Then display your output, right? What is the output we need to return? LV underscore output. We need to display this one. Okay, not E underscore output. E underscore output is in the function module level. Okay, So whatever the parameters we are passing in the program level, that will contain the data when function module is executed. Now LV underscore output should contain this output, whatever returned by the function module. Check the syntax, activate your program. Now tell me, we have defined two parameters, right? Are these two parameters mandatory or optional? Can you say these parameters are mandatory? Are we using obligatory? Are we using obligatory? Forget about function module parameters. Now we are talking about program parameters. Are these optional or mandatory? I'm talking about program level parameters. Okay? Program level parameters. I have defined two parameters. These are optional parameters because I am not using obligatory or I am not validating anything in the at selection screen, right? So these two are optional parameters as of now. Now let's execute the program. Keep a breakpoint at function module and execute. We are passing to the function module. What are the inputs we are passing to the function module? These two are the inputs, right? The first parameter contains 10, second parameter contains 15, and we are passing those two inputs to the function module, right? What happens if I click on F6? It will complete the function module execution in single step, right? It won't go inside the function module code line by line. It will complete the execution in single step, right? That means it's not going to skip any code inside the function module. It will execute all the statements inside the function module in a single step, right? If you click on F5, it will enter into the function module. F5, click on F5. So it will enter inside the function module. So it is validating and raising the exceptions if the values are empty. If not, it is calculating that value. LB underscore output is 25. E underscore output is initially empty. Then it is passing that final value to exporting parameter. Click on F5 and return to the calling program. This is the calling program, right? Where we are calling this function module. And now that value should be copied to this parameter or variable. Output is returned right into this variable. What is the sub RC? Sub RC is 0. That means no exceptions. Right? Output. Output is displayed. Now let me remove number 1 and execute. I'm not passing parameter 1. If you observe here, parameter 1 value is empty. 0. That means initial. Now execute the function module. F5. What it is doing? It is raising the exception, right? It is raising the exception. I'm clicking on F7. What happens if I click on F7? It will complete the function module execution and returns to the calling program. It return to the calling program. What is the sub RC? Sub RC value is 1. That means this exception is raised. No input, one exception is raised. Right? Enter input 1 message. Clear? You can also pass, so instead of parameters, you can also pass some hard coded values like this. 10, 20 in the program like this. You can also pass the parameters like this. Activate and execute. So here anyway, these are optional. I'm not entering anything because we are not using this parameter, or we'll comment this. You can also pass some hard-coded values. Okay, execute. Now I am passing 10 and 20 here. Click on F5. It entered into the function module. What is the value in value 1? 10. Value 2? 20. And it will calculate as usual. Okay, and it will return the output 30. But always it's going to calculate the same values. It's not providing a choice to enter our own values. Okay, depends on the requirement. If you hard code it, it will always calculate for only this 10 and 20, right? That's why we use parameters to pass the dynamic values. So since we are able to pass the hard coded values, can we try a different type of data? For example, I am passing a here, character type data, a here. Is it going to accept? Let's see, let's execute the function module. Let's execute the program, how it will react. Because what is the type of I underscore value one? Integer, right? And I'm passing some character data. Let's see how the program will respond. Click on F5 or F6. What happened? Runtime exception. A runtime exception has raised. What is the root cause of this exception? Go through the runtime exception. The function module was defined. So what is it saying? I underscore value one field A specified here a different field type. So what it is saying? For I underscore value one, you are passing a different type of value which is not compatible. Okay, and we need to fix that issue. If you go to source code extract, it will show you the exact line where that error is raised. You can see this arrow mark. If you, if you double click on the code, it will take you to the source code. Okay, the exact line where the issue is. Otherwise, where you can check all these runtime exceptions, what is the transaction code for that? This is the transaction code. ST22 is the transaction code to display all exceptions. Okay, so this is the exception that is raised for us. This is our program, right? ST22. Okay, now go to the program and fix the error. Change it. So instead of hard coded value, let's take parameters to pass the dynamic values. So is everyone clear? Shall we create one more function module? So now we'll create a function module to select data from the database tables. Okay, to select data from the database tables. For example, purchase order data. So I'm going to select PO header record. What is the table for PO header? Purchase order header table. What is the purchase order header table? EKKO is the purchase order header table, right? Now we'll create a function module to select data from purchase order header table. Okay. Create the function module. Provide the function group. I'll just use the same function group which I've used earlier. Okay. Read PO header record. Save. Continue. So what is the input for this? Go to the table. I want to read one PO header record, one record at a time. Okay, not multiple records. Please observe carefully. How many records I want to read? One record by purchase order number. I will provide purchase order number as input for the function module, and it should return what it should return. Purchase order record, one purchase order record. For example, like this. If I enter some purchase order, it should return a single record with that complete purchase order data, whatever available in the table. Okay, clear? Is everyone clear? Now what is my input for the function module? Purchase order number, that is EBELN. What is the type? Data element? EBELN, right? Now define one input parameter I underscore. I'll take same name, EBELN. Type. What is the type I have to use? The associated data type, EBELN. Okay. If you want to pass any default value, you can pass here like this in single quotes. Sorry, not this value. If you don't pass anything, it will be a default value. So in single quotes, pass the value as default value. Is it a mandatory input or optional input? I want to select a single record, right? Exact single record. That's why it is a mandatory input. Purchase order number is required. Now I want to return the output. What is my output? Output is a complete record, right? That purchase order document number record, right? That right? That purchase order number record. So what is the I have to define one parameter in exporting e underscore. I need to return the complete table record, right? With all the fields. I underscore EKKO type. What is the type I have to take? Table name. What is the table name? EKKO. So now what happened? Looks like there is a space. Yeah. So I'm taking a complete table reference. What does that mean? So it will define this exporting parameter with all the fields. How many fields are there in the table? 212 table, 212 fields. With all the fields in this EKKO table, it will define this exporting parameter with all the fields, right? Now tell me, is it going to accept a single record or multiple records? This E underscore EKKO. What kind of structure it is? Is it a variable like structure, work area like structure, or internal table like structure? We are using type and we are providing table as reference, database table as reference. Now what type of structure it is? Is it an internal table like structure, work area like structure, or variable like structure? How it can be a variable? How many fields you have in EKKO table? 212 fields. Now 212 fields means a complete record, right? So we store records in a work area, right? A single record. So it will be a record, not a single value. For example, if we define one more variable, E underscore bookers. Bookers means company code. Type. I think data element is also bookers. Now what is the type of this structure? E underscore EKKO is going to refer the complete table. So it's going to contain all the fields. So it's going to define one work area like structure with all the fields of the table. Okay, with all the fields of the table, 212 fields of the table, right? A single record, it can accept only a single record. We are providing database table reference. That doesn't mean that it's going to accept multiple records, right? If you provide database table reference in the exporting parameter, how many records it can accept, how many records it's going to return? It's going to define a work area like structure and it can handle only a single record. And what about this E underscore bookers? It's a variable like structure because it can handle only company code value. What is the associated type? Data element, right? When you use data element, it will define a variable like structure. When you define the importing or exporting parameter with table reference, it's going to define a work area like structure because you are defining this exporting parameter with table reference, right? It's going to create work area like structure. For example, this is exactly equal to this data E underscore EKKO type EKKO. Same, right? Both are same. Now, what about this data E underscore bookers type bookers? This both are same. Okay, is it clear? Is everyone able to understand? It is very important. Please observe. If you have any questions, please ask. When you define this importing parameter or exporting parameter with the data element reference, it's going to create one variable like structure. When you define this importing parameter or exporting parameter with table reference, it's going to create a work area like structure which can accept a single record. Okay, clear? And if you want to return or if you want to provide internal table data as input, what you need to use for now? Tables, right? For example, I'll use like this IT underscore EKKO. I need to use like here, like not type, like EKKO. What it is saying? What is the system is saying when I am using tables parameter? It is obsolete, means outdated. Okay, so it is outdated. Why are you still using it? Okay, there are alternatives, right? So it is proposing a different things because it is obsolete. If you click on enter, it's a warning message, right? Click on enter, it will accept. Still I want to go with this, right? Now tell me, what is the type of parameter it is going to define here? IT underscore EKKO. What type of structure it is going to define? Now, since we defined this IT underscore EKKO in tables, IT underscore EKKO will be like this. It is going to define internal table like structure, right? With all the fields of the table. Clear? So IT underscore EKKO is like this. So if you compare it with our program statements, it is like this. Data IT underscore EKKO type standard table of EKKO. Similar statement what we use in the program. Is everyone able to observe the difference? When you define same table reference in importing and exporting, it can accept only a single record. But when you define it in tables, It will act as an internal table like structure which can accept multiple records. Okay. Now let's remove it for now. We don't need it. Go to first, let's confine to importing and exporting. I'm also removing the bookers. Go to source code. What is my input here? My input is EBLN, I underscore EBLN. Write a select statement. Select. Can you guys tell me the syntax? Select. There is a lot of noise. Please mute. So can someone else tell me the syntax here? So what are we passing as input? Purchase order number. And what are we returning as output? One record, right? One purchase order record. Because whatever we define in the exporting parameter, it acts as a work area like structure. This EKKO acts as a work area like structure, right? Now tell me the select statement. To select the data using the CBLN number, select star from, okay, okay, into what we need to use here. Tell me, anyone can tell me. Yes, we have to use select single. Why we need to use select star, right? Do we need single record or multiple records? A single record, right? This is a work area like structure. E underscore EKKO can handle only single record. And also we are passing EBLN number, right? For each EBLN number, how many records you are going to find in EKKO table? For one EBLN number, only one record because it's a primary key, right? EBLN is a primary key. For each EBLN number, you will be having only one record. There is no chance of getting multiple records, right? Correct? If you enter this EBLN number, how many records you are going to find in the table? Only single record. There is no chance of two records, right? We need to use select single. Now tell me, select single star or select with required fields? We have to use star. Why? Because we are taking the complete table reference, right? We are taking the complete table reference. That's why use star. Into what we need to take here? Work area. You can define a new work area or like this. WA underscore EKKO, where what is mandatory for select single? Passing all the primary key values, right? But here in this example, we have only one primary key field, that is EBLN. I underscore EBELN, and escape sign is required since we are using inline declaration. Okay, is that enough? We are not returning the output, right? Are we returning the output to exporting parameter? We have just selected the data. Are we returning the output to exporting parameter? No. If sy-sub rc equal to 0, then return the output. E underscore EKKO equal to which one? WA underscore EKKO. That's it, right? Why I'm doing like this, equal to E underscore EKKO equal to W underscore EKKO, because both are compatible, both are same type. Because I'm using star here, right? It's going to define this work area with all the fields of the CKKO table, with all the 212 fields of the CKKO table. When I'm using star here, it's going to create a work area W underscore EKKO with all the fields of EKKO table. And what about this exporting parameters E underscore EKKO? I'm taking complete table reference, right? This will also contain all the fields of the table. That means both are compatible, right? Both are with same type, right? E underscore EKKO contains all the fields of the table. W underscore EKKO also contain all the fields of the EKKO table. Both are compatible. So that you can pass the data like this. Or what is the alternative? You don't need to define a work area here actually, because you are selecting all the fields. You can directly use exporting parameter in the select statement. Correct? Because you are selecting all the fields, and E underscore EKKO also contains a work area structure with all the fields. Correct? Now we are directly returning the output to E underscore EKKO. Check. Okay, escape sign is missing. And anyway, escape is not required. Remove. Let me remove it here, because we are not doing any declarations. We are using the existing exporting parameter. Let's test the function module. So by default, it is populating 2. Execute it. So this is the record of that table. Correct? It's going to return one purchase order record. Clear? Or if you want to pass a different purchase order number, pass it here. 1. It is the purchase order number 1. Clear? Is everyone clear on this? How we are doing this? For example, if there is no data available for the purchase order number what you have passed, if sy hyphen sub rc is not equal to 0, what we need to do? We need to raise the exception, right? Define the exception. No data available. No data. No data available for the purchase order record what you have entered. So that purchase order number is not available in the table. Okay, execute it. So let me enter some random value. Is it available or what? It did not. Okay, we did not raise the exception, right? So let me raise the exception. How to raise the exception? If sub RC is not equal to 0, that means select statement is failed. Whatever the input you have provided, that EBL number is not available. Rise no underscore data. Now activate the function module. Let me provide some random value. Activate. So what is the exception it is rising? No data exception, because that purchase order number is not available in EKKO table. Okay, clear? Now let's call this function module in a program. Let's create a new program. Call PO record. PO record. Oh, did I use hyphen? Create the function module. Sorry, program. Type executable program. Click on save. Okay, let me save the function in the same transport request. initialization at selection screen, start of selection. So what is mandatory? Like purchase EBLN number is our input, right? Define one parameter for purchase order number, P underscore EBLN equal, sorry, type. What is the data element for the EBLN? EBLN. This. Now call your function module. Go to pattern, Z demo. Do you remember the function module name? PO F4. This is the one, right? Yeah. So if you observe this, it is automatically populating the default value. Pass your parameter to this enable everything. Pass it here. What is the output data we are returning? EKKO table structure, right? Define one work area here to return the data. W underscore EKKO type. What is the type we have to use? Same type, whatever we are using in that exporting parameter. That is EKKO. Now pass that structure here. Now handle the exceptions. You know how to handle the exceptions. Equal to 1 means no data. For now I am just checking subRC equal to 0. You guys can try the different exceptions. When subRC equal to 1, 2, you can try. Then display the data, CL demo output display W underscore EKKO. Now execute it. Sorry, program is not active. Activate the program. Now we have defined one parameter to pass the purchase order number to function module, and we have defined one work area to return the output. Execute the program. So enter some purchase order number. You can use F4 if you want. Okay. Start search. You can select purchase orders numbers from this list. Enter. Click on execute. It is displaying that final record, right? It is selected that complete purchase order record. Let's see how it is working in by setting the breakpoint. Set the breakpoint. Enter the purchase order number. The program. So we're passing that parameter to the function module P underscore EBLN and click on F6. It will return that record into this work area, right? And we are displaying that work area. SubRC equal to 0, that means no exception has raised. Okay. For example, if I enter some random values, let me remove this and click on execute. F6. What is the SubRC? 1. That means exception is raised. No data, exception is raised. You have to handle that exception. Okay. With some message. Clear? This is how we use function module to select the data, and tomorrow we'll see how to select data into internal tables like multiple records, right? And in general, how we use these function modules in our projects, in our programs. Okay, clear? And how to select, here we are selecting all the records of the CKKO table, right? All the fields, not records, sorry. All the fields of the CKKO table, right? Tomorrow we'll see how to select only required fields, right? Here we are unnecessarily selecting all the 212 fields of the EKKO table. But tomorrow we'll see how to select only that required field, okay? And how to select multiple records into internal table type of structures, right? Like using tables and how we can handle the same using exporting parameters. Tomorrow we'll see that. But uh, today's assignment is create a function module on MARA table, MARA table. So material number is the input for that. Material number is the primary key. So material number is the input for MARA table. Create a function module to accept material number as input and return that complete MARA table record as output, and create call that in the program. Is everyone clear? Is everyone clear?